are now locked in and listening to The Issue.
This guy is a franchise quarterback, and no, I don't want to hear any pushback on that.
It feels like a top 10 roster to me. It feels like it can win a championship.
This is The Issue.
Yo, what's up? We are back. It is The Issue, episode 258 here for you on Thursday, January 9th. We have a ton to talk about. So the NFL regular season has come to an end. We are now going into the playoffs, week one, round one of the playoffs, if you will. A lot of games happening and a ton to unpack from the season. So I don't know if you caught it on Sunday Night Football. If you didn't, you missed the best game of the year.
Well,
the best matchup of the year.
It was the most important game of the year.
And then the
Didn't
Lions completely dominated.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. We'll go through that probably in hits and misses. But the show today is going to look like this. We're going to start with Tim's rant on the Pittsburgh Steelers, on the the mediocrity that is surrounded that team.
I was just going to say mediocrity.
It's
yes, sir. Absolutely.
It has become a problem. We're going to start the show with that. We will then move into hits and misses, go over where we were right and wrong in the week, and then moving into the second segment, we're going to rank the playoff teams for you, and then we will get into our round one predictions, and then finish off with our round one bets. And that's how episode 258 will look. But guys, we appreciate you being here. No matter how you have found us today, whether you're watching on Spotify, YouTube, or Amazon Prime Video, listening on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and of course, the iHeartRadio app. We appreciate it, and this is The Issue.
Yeah, no, Pittsburgh, the mediocrity is the perfect word for it. And I think mediocrity actually being nice, and I'm going to take it a step more negative here. Fewer teams finished worse than Pittsburgh. Go look at their offense for the stats for the last, let's say, 4 weeks in that 4-game losing streak. They were 10-3. They lose 4 straight. They finished 10-7. Go look at that 4-game losing streak. They're down there in terms of statistical categories, whether that's yards, whether that's points. Obviously wins being 0-4 with the Jets and the Giants and the Raiders. And you might think, oh, they don't belong with those teams. Oh, absolutely they belong with those teams. In fact, in the AFC, we won't even include the NFC. In the AFC, only 3 teams have a longer playoff drought than the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets, and the Las Vegas Raiders. And the Broncos are tied with the Steelers, so you could throw them in there as well. They absolutely belong with those teams. They do belong towards the bottom of the AFC. Now, where would you put them in the AFC? If you think that's crazy, think about it. Where would you put them? Let's just say right now, this very moment, you had to tier the AFC out. Let's go 4 tiers. The bottom is obviously, I think they're all drafting in the top 10. Your Raiders, Jets, Browns, Titans, Jags, Pats. Are just awful teams. And they've been pretty bad now for the better part of a half decade. Last 3 to 5 years, they've been pretty bad. Then you have the next, tier up. I'd say Colts, Dolphins, Bengals. They were just on the cusp of the playoffs, didn't quite make it. Very average teams, especially a lot of injuries, right? Miami missing their quarterback, etc. Then you have the next one, and that's where Pittsburgh would be, but they'd be at the bottom of this tier. It'd be Houston, Los Angeles, Denver, and then Pittsburgh. And then you have your real contenders, Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, right? That's the top of the AFC. They're in that second tier, I would say, again, the very bottom of it, which would put them at best 6th in their own conference. So a perennial wild card team. And then you think over the last, 10 years, what have they been? A perennial wild card team. They fit exactly into that slot. They've been and then they get run in the first round by a better team, whether that be Kansas City, whether that be Buffalo. It's going to be Baltimore on Saturday. And if you look at the next 5 years, I think they're even lower than 6th in the conference. Because I'd rather be the Bengals tomorrow. You have Joe Burrow. You have Zach Taylor, who clearly is a good coach, got to a Super Bowl, offensive, pretty clever. I would take the Colts, because I think Shane Steichen's fantastic. I don't love the ownership, but Chris Ballard's been a well above average GM. I don't know why he's getting a ton of heat, but he's been good. Steichen's been good. I think the ownership's been a problem. And they just missed on the quarterback. That's fine. That happens all the time. I think they deserve a second quarterback. That regime does. And if the Patriots get Vrabel, I think I'd rather be the Patriots tomorrow. Drake May, a top draft pick, you can trade that pick, right? You can go get, a first and probably a 4th, trade back a little bit. So now you have your own first, which is or I guess you'll trade back. So you'll have, again, that team's first, probably still top 10, top 12. You'd have 2 firsts the following year. You'd have a 4th the following year. I think I'd rather be the Patriots if they got Vrabel. So you're going to hear this a lot over the next 3 weeks, a month, maybe even 2 months. Is Tomlin the right fit in Pittsburgh? Should the Steelers move off Mike Tomlin? Will he move off them? Is he going to retire? What should Pittsburgh do to get out of this rut? That you're going to hear that a ton over the next month or so. I'll go ahead. I'll stake my claim. I'll give my opinion. That way, if anybody's wondering, here it is. Here's my stance, and it's been the stance for the last 2 to 3 years. Much like the Patriots did, I'd build a statue. I'd say, hey, thank you for your service. You've been unbelievable. You're one of the best, Steelers or Patriots or whatever of all time. Thank you so much. We appreciate it, but we're going to move a different direction now. Ideally, you hire a better coach than Gerard Mayo, but that's besides the point. Everybody gets paralyzed and hyperfixated on the ability not to lose games more than they do about actually going out and aggressively winning football games. Andy Reid could scheme his way to home playoff games and division titles and, get into the second round of the playoffs with Alex Smith all the time. Alex Smith didn't lose them a single game. You cannot look at a single game when he was in Kansas City and go, he's the reason they lost. Right? Did not lose them a single game in Kansas City. But Patrick Mahomes actually wins games. There's a difference in this league between not losing games and you're going out to win games. Mike McCarthy in Green Bay was really, really good. He was fantastic. Won a Super Bowl early, much like Mike Tomlin did. Was consistently a playoff team. Really, really solid head coach. But with an MVP quarterback, and Mike definitely didn't lose a ton of games, but how many did Mike actually win? Then they go out and get Matt LaFleur. He's definitely one of the best young coaches. Developing another top 10 quarterback like Green Bay seemingly always does. They'll have him for the next 10 years. Mike Tomlin's a really good football coach. And cable TV was a great idea, and it worked for years. It was a great business model for years and years and years and years, and they made a ton of money. And it worked well. But times have changed. Things are just different. It's time to move off Mike Tomlin. Just because you need to move off somebody doesn't mean he's a bad coach. Doesn't mean you need to fire him. You can trade him. You don't think Chicago would give you a first? They would give anything to have Mike Tomlin win 10 games a year. Let him have them. That's fine. Get a first. You can trade him. Then not everything has to be super messy. You don't have to fire him and he hates you and he goes on TV and it doesn't have to be like that. You could trade him. It could be fine. He can go coach Caleb Williams, go win 10, 11 games a year. He's considered a success. Hell, if you win 10 games a year for, 18 years in a row or 5 years, they'll build him a statue in Chicago. He'll be the best coach they've ever had. It can still work. The organization already has strong leadership. They don't need Tomlin to bring that in. I would go get a young offensive creative mind. I'd go get a young quarterback. Start over. We're worried about not losing games, not worried about winning games. They're stuck in neutral right now.
Yeah, and it looks like they are. The product that the Steelers have put on the field for the last 10 years looks the exact same. No matter the quarterback, no matter the coach, or obviously the coach has been the only constant in this, but GMs, offensive coordinators, and
offensive lines, quarterbacks, receivers.
Legitimately nothing else to blame other than Tomlin. And that's the thing. You can't find anything else because it's been the exact same. You've changed everything else. You've played around as much as you could and tried to make a different situation with all these different coaches and pieces and this and that and different players and the Le'Veon Bell thing and then the AB thing and now the George Pickens thing. It's the same thing all of the time in Pittsburgh. It's like a Groundhog Day. You wake up and it's the exact same every single day. A big change needs to be made. That's what we said at the beginning of the season and in our predictions, in our AFC North predictions. When we went through, we said the Steelers would be what? 7 and
we said 8 and 9.
8 and 9, yeah. And they ended up being 10 and 7. So we were off by 2 wins. That's it.
But they're gonna get clobbered.
I still have the same
Baltimore.
outlook.
They need
to make a big decision, and I think it's time that fresh blood comes into Pittsburgh.
No, I couldn't agree more. They're going to get crushed. What are they 7.5 point dogs right now? Something like that? I mean, they're going to get destroyed.
Yeah, in Baltimore. That's the worst scenario that you could have asked for outside of playing the Bills. It was either the Bills or the Ravens were going to knock you out. If you had somebody else, if you could have maybe gone to Houston, I think you would have had a chance, but not now.
They're going to get 9.5. Oh, my God.
9.5.
I think I'd take Baltimore today.
Minus the 9.5?
Absolutely.
Well, we'll have to see
Pittsburgh
later.
they're terrible. They are awful on who's scoring? Who's scoring points?
I don't know. Guys, stick around. We'll have our bets on the budget at the end of the show. But for now, let's move into hits and misses. Here we go.
All right, hit number 1 here. We may have ended the year poorly on bets. We still finished strong, but more so, 6 of 8 of the divisional winners were predicted correctly. And I forgot to look. I was like halfway through looking. I want to say we were 6 of 8 with the last place in the division as well. You can have your seconds, thirds. That's fine. Whatever. It's very easy as this league's become more and more quarterback dependent to look at this is the best team, this is the worst team, and we nailed it for 6 of the 8 divisions. I'm pretty proud of that. That feels like a good mark.
Absolutely, and it's a good. What this is our 4th year of predictions. Overall.
Divisional predictions.
I
think the one year we had 7. The other year we had like 5. I think it's like 6, 5, 6, and 7. So we average 6 of 8 divisional winners.
Yeah, so definitely good there. It was a good year of predictions. It was a good year of our divisional predictions. If they come out every year. I think starting in July, like mid-July is when we start them.
Because we do one a week for 8 weeks before the season,
and then enough time to predict like our Super Bowl winner, things like that.
Sure, make amendments. Yeah.
So it's solid, guys. Tune in this coming July, I guess, of 2025. We'll have more.
Mr. Number 1 here, the Commanders. I mean, we had them. I'm looking back at these divisional predictions that we did, kind of going back and seeing how do we do. We had the Commanders finished in 3rd in that division. Now we did have the Giants last. Big win for us. Mm-hmm. No, I mean, we were sitting there talking. We're like, who's going to score on the Commanders? I don't know. Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin, this random dude named Olamide Zaccheaus, who turned into a really, really good number 2 down the stretch. Like, this is a 12-win team.
Yeah.
A 12-win team.
Yeah.
So and to be fair, I think a lot of people were on our side preseason. They were like, look, they're going to be exciting. They're going to be young. Jaden should be pretty decent. We thought all those things. We didn't expect him to be damn near not just Rookie of the Year, MVP top 10 roughly, right?
Yeah.
Like, if there was 10 people on the ballot, would he be on your MVP ballot?
Probably.
He'd be on the MVP ballot with 5. With 5 people. I mean, Lamar, Josh, Sam Darnold, Jared Goff.
Joe Burrow.
I would argue he's in that top 5 to 7 for the MVP.
Right.
So, I mean, this unprecedented. Nobody expected it. Good for the Commanders.
He's had a hell of a season. Yeah. Every year you're going to get that team that shocks you, right? And that's one that we had, like you said, right with 3rd in the division and then played their way up, and they look really good. If it wasn't for Philadelphia, I mean, look at the rest of the NFC, they'd be contending. So
Sure. Hit number 2 here. I said whenever they fired Josh McDaniels last year in Las Vegas, I said, look, you're going to do the interim thing. That's fine. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of excitement. Don't get suckered into hiring the interim just because he had a good, 5-game stretch at the end of the year. That's a bad idea. We see teams do it all across the league, and it's usually never a good idea. What do you know? The Raiders did it. I said that's a dumb idea. I would have moved on. I said I'd fire him mid-season. Now here we are at the end of the season. They still haven't fired him, and of course they were bad. Of course. There's no direction on the franchise. Not a ton of cap space. Just not a lot of talent. I don't like the coaching staff. Where do they even hang their hat? I mean, what do you even do if you're a Vegas fan?
I mean, you have to, if you're a Vegas fan, put all your stuff away and don't publicly proclaim yourself a Vegas fan until they start turning shit around, because it doesn't look good. If you're
I hit the slots.
making decisions, if you're making decisions in Vegas about this football team, you need to blow it all up. I mean, pick 2-3 core guys that you want to keep and that you want to build around, and then just blow it all up and start from there.
I'd go down to the casino and put your mortgage on their under on wins next year, unless it's like 3.5, which it may be. They're that bad. Miss number 2 here. This is more of my personal miss, but I think we both thought that, especially after they win that playoff game in dramatic fashion over Justin Herbert 2 years ago or whatever, that there would be something building in Jacksonville, that Doug Peterson was the right hire for a young quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. We saw him develop Carson Wentz and then take Nick Foles and win a Super Bowl. And we saw him win a playoff game in year 1, and we're like, okay, this is the Trevor Lawrence we were going to get. This is the team that has talent, and Jacksonville can actually be decent again. Maybe not a powerhouse, but be decent again. They go into Arrowhead and look good. Well, the Doug Peterson era has officially ended. He's fired. The whole thing just kind of collapsed in on itself. People are doubting Trevor. Obviously, Doug gets run. Trevor's going on to his 3rd head coach now. Somehow the GM has made it through all this, Trent Baalke, which I think he's probably the worst GM in football. So it all collapsed in on itself. It's just sad to see.
Well, what do you think? So I need to pose a question to you. Is it time that we reevaluate Trevor and take our, I guess, our presumptions that we had coming into his career, with all of the outstanding football that we saw from him at Clemson? Is it time that we finally sit down, reevaluate, and have an honest conversation about Trevor Lawrence not having what it takes to play in the NFL?
No, I don't think it's time yet, because, and here's why. Trevor had a significantly better start to his NFL career than the following players that still start in this league. Geno Smith, Sam Darnold, I'm blanking on anybody else, but still you get my point. Like, if Sam Darnold can be that bad and still become a starting 30 touchdown a year guy, Trevor Lawrence is 100% on that caliber of talent as Sam Darnold. But he needs all the support. Like, right. Sam needs that support, and he even has support and played poorly. Like, I'm not saying Sam's perfect, but can Trevor Lawrence be a Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, where he already got paid big money, Geno and Sam didn't, but can he go be a high-end bridge quarterback, almost low-end franchise guy like Sam, like Geno, like Baker? Absolutely. Absolutely.
What if you traded crafty veteran Russell Wilson in a package deal with... I don't care.
He's not under contract, but I get your point. So if I could trade my quarterback room,
do you think he does well in Pittsburgh?
Depends who our head coach is. With this current coaching staff, Tomlin and Arthur Smith?
Yeah.
No. If you gave me Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator from the Bucs, who's going to draw interest to be a head coach this year, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
For sure. I would take him in a... Now, to be fair, I don't think he'd be great in Pittsburgh, but I would trade my quarterback room and 3 firsts for Trevor today. I think he's significantly better than what we have in the room.
Absolutely.
Hit number 3 here. We knew this coming into the league. We knew this 2 starts into the league. If you can't hit at least 60% of your throws in the NFL, you just cannot stay a starting quarterback. Nope. I think the Anthony Richardson thing is pretty much done. I think it's pretty much done. Yeah. It's weird. I actually think if the head coach and the GM had gotten fired, right? Of course, Jim Irsay comes out and says Steichen will be back, Ballard will be back. As of now, he's a bit of a impulsive owner. You never know if that's going to flip. As of now, the GM's back, the head coach is back. To me, that indicates they, as a regime, get a second quarterback. The quarterback doesn't get a second head coach. That's what I drew from it.
Okay.
I think they clearly needed to make a change this year. It was either going to be the head coach and GM or the quarterback. The head coach and GM are staying. To me, that indicates the quarterback's gone, although we don't know that yet. I feel like the experiment's pretty much done.
Yeah. I mean, it's been bad. you have all of the physical talent to be a quarterback in the NFL, but then nothing translated. Nothing.
If you're the Colts, though, what do you do? I mean, I actually don't mind their roster. Their offensive line's good enough. Jonathan Taylor's a very good back. Well, I like Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce. I think you need probably one more wide receiver.
Jonathan Taylor's also getting old.
Or maybe like a tight end. Yeah, but for the next couple of years, he'll be good. He'll be good for a year or 2, probably, at least. Their defense is still decent.
Okay.
I think you're telling me 2 drafts and 2 free agency periods, they can't be really good?
They could, but they need to...
Maybe even 1. I think they could be... They won, 8 games this year? I think that if they had a good draft and a good free agency period, you tell me they don't go get Sam Darnold, they go get another corner, and they draft a receiver and an interior D lineman or an edge rusher or something. That's not a 10-11 win team?
Could be good.
It's at least a playoff team.
It'll be a playoff team. They're a playoff team with Phillip Rivers, too.
True. Fair enough. Miss number 3 here. All right. Keep this one short. The entire Bears franchise, Caleb Williams, the entire season that was the Chicago Bears. At least they finally beat the Packers, but still, it's a poorly run franchise. I don't like the GM. I clearly don't like anything going on with the coaching staff. I think DJ Moore is probably the most overrated wide receiver, number 1 in football. Very upset. I'm very upset at myself because I got suckered into it because I like Caleb so much. I still think he's going to be a star in this league. But I got suckered in because everything else in that organization sucks. And I ignored all the warning signs. It was right there in front of me.
You ignored my warning signs.
And I ignored all the warning signs.
I was screaming at you. I had flashing red lights over here. I was like, you realize you're backing the Chicago Bears right now.
After I ripped them for 3 years in Justin Fields.
Yeah.
I know.
But I mean, then again, we also came around on the Baker Mayfield thing too. You couldn't find a more hostile podcast towards Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I used to hate Baker.
And
good now. It's good.
And now it's good. We've rekindled our flame with Baker.
Okay.
Rebuilt the relationship.
Because he was now real quick, because we have like a minute. I didn't like him in Cleveland because he was treated like a top 5 quarterback, but performed like the 17th best quarterback. Now he's paid like the 17th best quarterback and performs like a top 5 quarterback. That's why I like Baker, because he looks and plays, and now he acts at the podium most of the time like a top 7 or 8 guy in the league, but he's paid like the 14th, 15th, 16th. That's why I like him, because he's treated like he's still average, but he's now gone from overrated to underrated.
Right.
That's why I like Baker.
The compensation amount has changed.
The compensation, the expectations, the media coverage, it's completely flipped.
There you go. Look at that. Most pro Baker Mayfield podcast that you can find now. Guys, we'll be back in the second segment to rank the playoff teams, predict round 1, and give you our bets on a budget for round 1 of the playoffs.
All right, welcome back in. The 9th of January. We are, 48 hours away? Not even. We're like 40 hours away from playoff football being kicked off on Saturday. I'm very, very excited. So we are going to rank the playoff teams 1 through 14. And then we'll, of course, get into a little bit of predictions, couple bets. We have 3 lines here for you. And then we have a little parlay, just a little 2-legger for some prop bets. Mix it up a little bit. It's playoffs. Figured why not. But however you did get here, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, we appreciate however you got here. So make sure you subscribe, like, review, comment, all that fun stuff.
Yep. 48 hours until playoff football starts, but at the same time, I think you sent it to me on Instagram earlier, I guess later last week, of this slate of games just in sports from Thursday through Sunday this week, and it's crazy.
Very excited. Because Thursday we have, is it a college football playoff game?
Yes.
I think there's one Thursday, 2 Friday, 1 Saturday, or maybe 1 Friday, 2 Saturday, something like that.
It's either way. It is packed Thursday through Sunday. It's a great weekend to be a football fan, guys. In this segment, we're gonna.
No, there's only 2 college football games. My bad.
Yeah, we're gonna start things off here with our ranked playoff teams. Yep. Is how we're gonna hop into the second segment here.
This is right now at this moment going into the playoffs. This isn't looking ahead, looking back. Right now, how are these teams playing?
Let's go.
We'll start at the bottom, number 14, Houston. Part of it is because I think they got a tough draw. I think the Chargers are a legitimate team. They can run the football. That's kind of how you can beat. Houston. So we saw Lamar do it, Derrick Henry on Christmas. Houston's a little bit in shambles right now. I know they beat Tennessee, but does that really? I don't know. Does that do anything for them? That
doesn't hold much weight for me.
Yeah, does that really do anything for them? To me, I think it's a one-and-done type team. We've seen inconsistencies at quarterback. CJ's been good, not as good as we thought. He's been inconsistent,
but also just regressing throughout the season.
Yeah. They're valleying out at the wrong time. They're not peaking at the right time.
Yeah, they peaked right around week 4, 5, 6, and then completely just kind of started to let the wheels fall off the bus a little bit. Texans at 14 makes sense.
It's the same thing with the Steelers. You could say the exact same thing. Yep. Inconsistency at quarterback. You can run on them. Not peaking at the right time. Lost 4 straight down the stretch. All the same things we said about the Texans, you can say about Pittsburgh. And, of course, they get a tough draw with the Ravens.
Yeah. At 13, it feels right. They have proved to us that they don't deserve to be at the top of the list, because just a few weeks ago they were in the top 5 in our power rankings when they were peaking, when they looked top really
6
good.
Or 7 maybe.
Yeah,
were they up to 5 maybe?
They were pretty high.
I think they may have been up to 5.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and check. But as we've seen them go, and this is what we predicted at the beginning of the season too. We knew it was going to come to this, and that the end of the schedule was the toughest, and it wasn't going to look great. But
4 straight
is tough,
and it's been none of them have been close.
No, and you look at the teams above here, I don't think they would even come close to beating any of them. So let's go number 12.
Yeah, number 12, the Broncos. I get a Hall of Fame coach, Sean Payton, really good quarterback in Bo Nix. You can't put them higher because they have to go to Buffalo and play Buffalo. It's probably the toughest draw of anybody in the first round. And again, at the end of the day, it's still a rookie quarterback making his playoff debut.
Yeah.
As good of a rookie season as you can have, still, you're just not prepared for that moment. Broncos at 12.
Dude, you're getting the best Bills team in the last I guess however long the Bills have been a franchise, really, right? I mean, what
this
teams
is probably
have been better
this
than
is definitely the best Josh Allen iteration. This is the best iteration of Josh Allen's Bills. You probably like Jim Kelly back in the day when they went to 4 straight Super Bowls. Now they lost 4 straight, but they went there at least. Whatever.
Bo Nix, congratulations, great season, man, but it's just not your time yet.
For sure. Packers at 11. I just don't know what I'm getting half to half, quarter to quarter with this team. First half against Minnesota, they look like they forgot how to play football. Second half, it's almost too little too late. I know you played a lot of backups, Malik Willis, but you lost to the Bears at home. It's like I just don't know what I'm getting half to half, quarter to quarter. But if we get their A game, Philadelphia's in trouble. That's all I'm saying. If we get their A minus, anywhere from A minus and up type game, Philly's in trouble because the offense can be explosive. It's just so inconsistent.
And we've said it all year, and we've said it for seasons now, but LaFleur is one of the best coaches that you could possibly get. We've seen it live.
I think he's top 10.
Especially here. If it comes down to a coaching thing, especially with Philadelphia, I don't love Sirianni. I would take Packers when you break it down on what boxes do these playoff teams check.
I would check coach.
I would give the coach to the Packers 100% of the time. They feel like an 11. Yeah.
Number 10, the Commanders. Again, back to the Bo Nix discussion. Rookie quarterback making his first start. I don't have a ton of high hopes for that.
No.
The matchup between them and the Bucs though feels like in March Madness an 8-9 matchup. Really, really close. Wouldn't shock me if the Commanders end up winning a game, but they have to go to Tampa. Yeah. I think if it was at home, maybe Washington would probably be favored. But that brings us to our number 9 team. Tampa Bay just slightly above them.
And I like
more
that.
Experience at quarterback, more experience pretty much all around. I mean, Washington's a very, very young team, defensively really young. And then your young guys on the outside of Terry McLaurin, there's not a ton of experience on the offense. So Commanders at 10, Bucs at 9 because I get more experience with the Bucs.
And it is, like you said, a matchup thing, and it comes down to where this game is at. Because this game is at Raymond James Stadium, that's a big factor into things here. You know how the Bucs play at home. The Bucs at 9 feel right. It wouldn't bother me if they were flipped.
No, that's a very close 9-10. That's kind of why we did them in conjunction. Very, very close between the two of them.
Yeah, but that feels right.
Yeah, number 8, the Rams. At the end of the day, we have to stand
Stafford,
on what
McVay.
Exactly. And I think they're going to run the table? No. But at the end of the day, I can't leave the best coach and quarterback combination outside of Mahomes out of the top 10.
Yeah.
You just can't do it, so they land at 8.
Yep.
And for a lot of the same reasons, Chargers at 7. Harbaugh's probably, if he's not the best coach at his peak, he's certainly the most versatile coach. To go to a Super Bowl with the Niners and then go back to college, win a natty, and now come back and prove to be a great success in the league again.
Yep.
I mean, we're talking a decade apart. Just so impressive. So I get a very good culture, very good head coach, great quarterback, Chargers at 7.
And a team that's kind of coming back to health at the right time. Injuries have always plagued the Chargers for the last, 5 years?
Especially on defense. Derwin James,
it's
Joey
been
Bosa.
Bad. It's been really bad. But now the Chargers, they get J.K. Dobbins back.
Yeah, he looked good. He looked pretty good week 18.
When he's in your offense,
yeah, he looked good.
Herbo's this much better already coming into the game. The Chargers, I like them at 7. That's a sneaky team where I could see them making a run.
Yeah, Minnesota at 6. They showed, I don't even want to say they, Sam kind of showed his true colors. Now, I'd still pay him. I think he's a very high-end bridge, low-end franchise guy like Baker. We talked about that last week. But we kind of saw that, again, and we've said it from the very beginning about Minnesota, that's a very rhythm-oriented offense. If you can get them off their spot, which they got Sam off his spot, the offense looks completely different.
Yeah.
0 for on red zone trips, 9 points, 3 field goals.
Looked really bad.
I can't ignore that. But with that being said, I have a body of work of 14 wins where Sam Darnold looks like he's a top 5 quarterback. So I don't want to put too much weight in the loss, but it does factor in a little bit, keeps him from being higher. Still a very good offense, great head coach, unbelievable weapons, and I think Sam's going to play well.
Yeah, I definitely think this would be one of the ones where we're taking more of a bet on them being at number 6 here in the power rankings. But it's where they feel, and it's like if you've watched, like you said, if you've watched football, if you've watched all the weeks, you know what kind of team the Vikings are, especially when it comes to these important games, these big moments. Kevin O'Connell is fantastic. Yeah, Vikings at 6.
Now the top 5, this to me is where there's separation. I feel like 5 and up can win a Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. I feel like 6 and below, I'd be fairly shocked if any of them, honestly, if any of them end up in a conference championship, I'll be very surprised. I think 5 and up, I think 4 of them are going to be in the conference championship game. Let's start with number 5, the Ravens. Now, I still think they're going to. This is probably the team that's going to get left out, but they may be one of the most exciting, riveting teams to watch play. I think they're. Is it the best quarterback in football? I know Josh is having a really good year, but look at the stats. Like, is it the best quarterback in football? 2024/2025.
I would say personally no, but he's right up there.
He's so good. It's so hard to bet against him. But I know the defense has been better as of late. I still feel like the defense isn't where it needs to be to go into Arrowhead, to go into Buffalo and win a shootout, win a tough game against the Bills, against the Chiefs. That's why they're not as high as those two AFC contenders.
And there's no historical evidence that says that Lamar Jackson's going to win this game.
No, you're exactly right. There's 3 spots he struggles with in his career: the Chiefs, the Steelers, and the playoffs.
And
those are the 3 spots he struggled, and he gets 2 of them this week.
Look, I know how we feel about this game, the Steelers-Ravens game. But it's Lamar. He's playing the Steelers and in the playoffs. This is his trap week. Like, this is not a great matchup if you're Baltimore either. So like,
it's not a great matchup.
They're definitely in that Super Bowl bubble, in that Super Bowl realm. But this is one of the teams, and that's why they're at the bottom. Is just because the matchup is just not that.
Oh my god!
great.
If they lose, the noise is going to be insane.
It would be crazy.
It'd be great. I'm rooting for it because I'm in the chaos. Interesting. Like I just want to see. And I'm a Pittsburgh fan.
Right,
so.
Absolutely.
But number 4, the Eagles. Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts hopefully comes back healthy. Probably one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver duos. I know the defense got thrown on a little bit by the Commanders, but still a really talented defense. Vic Fangio is a fantastic coordinator.
For sure.
I just worry, what if Jalen's a little rusty after missing 2 games, right? What if the offensive line can't give him enough time? Is he going to be a little skittish in the pocket? Like, is he going to move too much? There's a little bit of a question mark at quarterback. That's why they can't be higher. But also, there's 3 really good teams above them anyway.
Yeah, I know, and it just feels like a team that. This feels like a Super Bowl team, but they're going to have to go through the Lions, and that's who's above them.
The Lions at 3. I had said previously we dropped them out of our top 5 because we said I don't think a defense that bad can win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl bubble is either 4 or 5 and up, and I don't think they can win a Super Bowl with that bad of a defense. But to see what they did to Minnesota, the pressure that they put on the Vikings, the pressure they put on Sam Darnold, the ability to cover up on the back end playing one-on-one versus that receiving core in Minnesota, I was so impressed with that defense, with that scheme. Maybe they found something. Do I think that's probably more of an outlier? But can we find a median between that and giving up 40 against Brock Purdy? I think there's going to be a middle ground somewhere. And even if they're just league average, their offense is good enough. I think they can win a Super Bowl. If they're the 16th best defense, I think they can win a Super Bowl.
Right, and we say it all the time, and we've said it already here. The coach quarterback thing matters, and Dan Campbell and Jared Goff.
I would combine Ben Johnson in that. I would combine Ben Johnson into that coach mix because he controls the offense. But yeah, I agree.
It's a hell of a combination. I love what's going on in Detroit. They're my favorite team in the NFC right now. I like it.
1 and 2 we'll do in conjunction because they're so close. It's the Chiefs and Bills. It's the number 1 and 2 seed in the AFC.
We'll start with the Bills.
That's what I'm saying, the number 1 and 2 seed. Yeah. The Bills are the number 2, the Chiefs are the number 1. So close. Chiefs have the experience. Chiefs have been there before. And Bills, although we've seen the top end be so good, Josh Allen, 5 touchdowns, throwing for all kinds of yards, James Cook, 2-3 touchdowns in a game. I've also seen where they put up like 10 against Baltimore and got crushed. So I just can't. I have not seen Kansas City get outright crushed like that. So I have to put Kansas City higher than the Bills.
Yeah. I don't know because I feel better about the Bills. Like if they played today, I would take Buffalo.
I think I would take Buffalo too because I've been on Buffalo all year and I can't abandon that. But also, how can you leave the Chiefs off the top spot?
And like we've always said,
they haven't been knocked off. They haven't been knocked off.
Until proven otherwise, they got to be number 1.
Correct. So let's go Back through it: Chiefs, Bills, Lions, Eagles, Ravens, Vikings, Chargers, Rams, Bucks, Commanders, Packers, Broncos, Steelers, Texans, rounding it out in 13-14.
I like it. Those are the ranked playoff teams, so guys, go check them out. Those will be posted and anywhere you can find this show. So theissuesports.com will get you there. But we now have our predictions for the wild card round, wild card weekend in the NFL. Every pick. Let's go.
So, of course, we have the Chargers traveling to Houston. We both like the Chargers. Better quarterback. We're almost positive. No, you know what? Better coach as well.
Oh, 100%.
D'Amico's been really good as a young coach, but Jim Harbaugh's a much better coach.
Better quarterback.
Harbaugh, better head coach, better quarterback. I know that we kind of all fell in love with Houston, but I think the Chargers have a better roster too. Better offensive line for sure. CJ's been under so much duress this year. Better offensive line in LA. More steady run game, although Mixon's height is better than the Chargers. Chargers have running back by committee. I think it's a better running back room overall. Chargers get the win.
Yeah, and when you match them up head-to-head, that's where you really see the difference. When you see Justin Herbert and the games he's played in and the playoff games where he broke his ribs and still played his ass off to the very finish, that's what you're getting from Justin Herbert. I like C.J. Stroud. I've liked him all season, but I'm not sure he has that it factor like Justin Herbert does. So,
Ravens hosting the Steelers. Ravens are a better team. Again, better quarterback. I feel I'm getting a better coach, although slightly. I think it's Harbaugh, Tomlin, flip a coin. And a much better roster. Significantly better roster. Defense peaking at the right time. Derrick Henry, obviously. So, yeah, Ravens.
But when you break it down and look at it I'm taking the Ravens as well, but when you look at it at the matchup level, what you know these teams are and how they play each other, it's going to be close. And we'll talk about that coming up. Yeah.
Bills hosting the Broncos. I love Bo Nix. Wish him all the best. I just don't think this is a spot. In Buffalo, too, it's just rough.
Not here. This is a Buffalo Bills win all day. The Broncos were a cute story this year, and they've done well, and I'm excited to see what they turn into in 2 to 3 years. But this is not a spot where they go to Buffalo and win.
No, I agree. Green Bay traveling to Philadelphia. Green Bay's exciting. They're young. Too inconsistent for me to win a big game on the road. I'll take the Eagles. Yeah,
the Eagles, who have been they've looked impenetrable all year. There have been a couple, slight hiccups here and there. You hear a little noise in the locker room with Sirianni and Hurts at the beginning of the season, things like that. But they have it's straightened out now. A lot of it, is media pressure that would happen.
If I can root though for any stories, I want the Steelers to win because the noise around Lamar is going to be crazy.
Yep.
And I want the Eagles to lose because I think it'd be insane with Sirianni getting fired. That would be.
Do you think he gets fired as soon as they lose? If they lose that game?
If they lose that, absolutely. I don't even think they let him out of the building.
Okay.
I'd be surprised if they let him talk to the media after.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they would have to protect him getting out of the link.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Commanders going to Tampa Bay to face the Bucks. I'm going with the Bucks again. More experience.
Better quarterback.
Yeah, I would say at this point Baker's better, although it's close. Jayden's been really good. But I'd say, at this point Baker's better. It's a night game, too. Just night games down there just feel a little bit different.
Yeah.
The team's more experienced in the playoffs. Commanders haven't been there in a while, especially with this iteration of the team.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay.
Give me the Bucks.
And finally, our one and only split. You wanted to take them so bad. I said Vikings at the Rams. And you're like, Vikings? No, no. And I'm like, I know you want to take the Rams. Just do it. And you're taking the Rams. Why?
Because Matt Stafford exists and because Sean McVay exists and because they're on the same team together there. And Sean McVay is one of the best playoff coaches that you'll ever come across. He gets them ready to go. And the Rams, they have that experience. They've been there before. They know what it's all about, and that's what I like to bet on, the team with that playoff experience.
I'm going to take the Vikings. Getting a better quarterback.
No, you're not.
Getting a better. This year I am.
Statistically this year, yes.
Yeah, I'm going out on a limb here because I kind of wanted to take the Rams as well. I just can't ignore the body of work. I've seen the Rams put up 19 points against the Jets. I've seen the Rams have those kind of slog, those games where it's just ugly. They kind of just have to run the clock out, run the ball a ton. Just ugly wins on the road. I like the Vikings. I think they have more firepower. I'm going Minnesota.
Okay. Makes sense. I mean, it's not a bad team. And according to the Issue podcast, you have the better team because they are ranked higher than the Rams, according to our own list.
Sure.
So there you go. Guys, now we have our bets on a budget. A little bit different than normal if you've been following along all season and watching the bets over the last 18 weeks. We're going to throw a parlay at you here today. Let's go.
Let's go and start with the spreads. We'll get those out of the way, and we'll finish with the fun little parlay. LA -3 at Houston. What does Houston do well? Where do they hang their hat? If it's CJ Stroud, he hasn't been playing very well. And even if he is playing well, he doesn't have time to throw, right? We have good edge rushers here with the Chargers. They're going to get pressure on the quarterback. I don't trust Houston in a big spot. Young quarterback, young head coach, can't protect the quarterback. I'm going experience. I'm going protection. I'm going run game, fundamentals, Chargers, -3 at Houston. Feels very 27-20 to me.
Yeah, I love that one. There's just nothing that excites me that much where I think they're going to go ahead and they don't have any chance against the Chargers in this spot to me. Like it's a matchup thing. I felt strongly about the Chargers since the matchups came out. I love that bet.
All right, Green Bay +4.5 at Philadelphia. I think Green Bay is going to be leading late. We're going to get a crucial mistake from a young team, a fumble, an interception, a big penalty, something like that, to give Philadelphia the ball back late to kick a field goal. Feels very 33-30, high scoring, a lot of points, late game, maybe Love throws a pick, Jaden Reed fumbles, something like that around midfield. Couple plays later, Philadelphia's in Jake Elliott's range. He hits a field goal. Maybe not as time expires, but late in the game, Philly wins. But I like Green Bay to cover the 4.5.
Yeah, it's too good of a team to get blown out at this spot. The Eagles are great, and they are going to win the game. Like they will win, barring anything crazy. But the Packers, everything that you have there offensively, you have to be able to keep it close. And it's a cold weather team, so I don't think the environment's not going to be it's not going to be much of an issue.
Nope.
I love that one.
Pittsburgh +9.5 at Baltimore. I'm just banking on the fact that Lamar against the Steelers and Lamar in the playoffs, maybe they'll combine because all of our historical data says those two things equal not good performances. If he doesn't play well, it's at least going to be close. I think the Ravens still win. Muddy up the game a little bit, 19-16 Ravens.
Okay. Yeah, this is the one I lobbied for, so I really hope it works out. Tim said everything you need to know. Lamar does not play good against the Steelers. The Ravens historically against the Steelers struggle. Now, it is in Baltimore, which, if it was in Pittsburgh, totally different story. I don't know, totally. It would be a lot closer. I would maybe take the Steelers there. I'd think about taking the Steelers there. But here, it's a Ravens win, but a Steelers cover.
But despite that saying it's going to be close, the Steelers against tight ends have been awful this year. So our parlay is a Mark Andrews parlay. Over 43.5 receiving yards and an anytime touchdown score.
Super doable.
I think it's going to be like a 6 for 58 and a touchdown for Mark Andrews. Big red zone target. That is a +246 on DraftKings. So 5 will win you almost $20, like $18. So put that on there. We'll see what happens.
And historically, if you're looking at the past Steeler games, they can't cover tight ends.
No, I mean,
they
did
just
you
always find a way
see
to
the
get
Christmas
open.
Day game?
Right.
Kelsey had like 7 for 80 something and a touchdown. So
he'll get open. Don't you worry about that. He'll get his receiving yards, and that touchdown should be pretty free, especially from the red zone.
Absolutely.
So, run back through them.
All right, so we have the Chargers -3 at Houston, Green Bay +4.5 at Philly, Pittsburgh +9.5 at Baltimore. Little parlay, Mark Andrews +246 with the over 43.5 receiving yards and anytime touchdown score.
There it is. Guys, those are the predictions, the bets, the rankings, everything for wild card weekend here in the NFL. So enjoy it. It won't be here for much longer. The season has flown by. But, in the meantime, head on over to theissuesports.com. You'll be able to be ready for the week. All of the latest information, everything coming out over there. So make sure you go check it out. Guys, we will see you here back next week. Go over the wild card, predict divisional. It'll be a great time. That was The Issue.